Hey guys, it's your humble host, or care if you prefer, so I'm back with another video on the Grand Rapids shooting. As I said, I will be keeping tabs on this, and I just found an article that was released 3 days ago, and according, as you can see in the title, Lyoya Patrick was drunk. So remember the video, and I believe I said this, if not other people have said this, that the way that Lyoya was acting was he was either high, his speech was slurred, he wasn't acting right. And he was already, to clarify the facts again, he was driving with stolen plates. The vehicle was more than likely stolen. He got out of the car, took off on foot, tried to grab Officer Schur's taser, and would not let go of it. And we already went over the functions of the taser from what I understand in my comment section, so a small correction. That is the civilian version of the taser, but according to the website, it's the particular tasers used by both law enforcement and civilians. Either way, we went over the functions of it. It was still lethal. So let's read this article. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. This was released by the Detroit Free Press, and this was released May 6th. I have been busy. I do apologize. So, a Kent County autopsy report echoed findings of an independent autopsy. This took up to 4 weeks, and according to what I have read, an autopsy takes up to 60 days. This one took 4 weeks, and I'll talk about that in here. Patrick Lyoya was shot in the back of the head by a Grand Rapids police officer after being pulled over. The report from the medical examiner's office also shows Lyoya's blood alcohol was more than 3 times the legal limit for driving, according to 2 medical experts who explained the findings of the report. So you have 2 medical experts. So Lyoya was drunker than a skunk. The penalty for driving while intoxicated is not a gunshot wound to the back of the head, said Ben Johnson. That's not why he was shot in the back of the head. It had nothing to do with him being drunk, nor was he made to take a breathalyzer test upon the stop. That's not the reason. So one of the lawyers representing the Lyoya family, you guys are race baiters and freaking grifters, and you lawyers are disgusting. Most lawyers are slime balls, but not all. It would be arrest and go to jail and face the music in court, but not a gunshot wound to the back of the head. We're going to completely gloss over that he tried to grab Officer Schur's lethal weapon, actually got a hold of it when it was deployed the first time. Remember, this particular taser, Taser 7, I'll put the link in the description, if not at the end credits to that video, to where Lyoya had grabbed the taser when it deployed the first time, making the actual taser part of it useless. Officer Schur, during the scuffle, tried to deploy it again, which did not work, proved to be useless because Lyoya still had it and never enacted the stun gun feature. So, the lawyers, of course, are glossing over all this because that taser was still lethal. He said it has no impact on the cause of manner or death. Lyoya's death was ruled a homicide caused by a gunshot wound to the head, the report said. Officer Christopher Schur shot Lyoya, a 26-year-old refugee from the Democratic Republic of Congo, during a traffic stop the morning of April 4th. Lyoya was pronounced dead at 8:33 a.m. No charges have been issued, and the investigation continues. Police said Lyoya had an improper license plate on the car. During the stop, Lyoya ran from the officer. He was more than likely driving with stolen plates and a stolen vehicle. Anybody who's done security work or has been a police officer in the past would recognize that behavior right away. It's like, yeah, you're driving a hot car. Let's see. During the stop, Lyoya ran from the officer, and the officer chased Lyoya. The two wrestled for the officer's stun gun before Schur shot Lyoya. Let me also point out, as I said, the taser was deployed twice. Officer Schur kept giving vocal commands: stop resisting, let go of the taser, show me your ID. Lyoya refused, took off, and proceeded to wrestle the officer when Officer Schur tried to stop him from running away. Officer Schur waited longer, in my opinion, than he should have to take Lyoya out by said taser. As I had mentioned in my previous video, instead of chasing after him and tackling him to the ground, I would have tried to deploy the taser first. Again, I have not wrestled anybody to the ground. Thank God. Do I want to? Hell no. But that's just my take from a outside party observing. It's unclear whether Schur suspected Lyoya was intoxicated. There was no mention of that in the video, nor was he forced to take a breathalyzer test, nor was there any indication that Officer Schur was going to have him do so. Grand Rapids Police referred free press questions to Michigan State Police, which is investigating. Interesting. A Michigan State Police spokeswoman said that would be part of the investigation, and she cannot provide any details of the investigation. Policing and civil rights experts have previously told the Free Press that Schur missed opportunities to peacefully resolve the encounter. Boom, I'm going to call bullshit because Lyoya had already proven himself to be a threat, or that he's going to cause trouble when he stepped out of the car and took off. Bullshit. Because as I already explained, with also the nightstick and the pepper spray creates a medical emergency. And pepper spray is only to be used for if someone is coming at you attacking and you don't want to shoot them. You can use pepper spray to disable them and allow a non-compliant cuffing. The nightstick is the same thing, but there's rules on how to use a nightstick. You cannot just beat someone upside the head or the neck. So, and if you look at the video, Officer Schur has a bunch of stuff on the left back side of his belt, and the only thing that's in reach is gun. And at that point, Lyoya would not let go of what is a pain compliance tool. Granted, the 2 cartridges of the taser had already been dispensed and used, but the taser itself had a stun gun feature, which can cause a lot of pain and cause somebody to be disabled for a few seconds. That's also used for what's called non-compliant arrest. So, again, a nightstick would not have worked in this situation. Pepper spray would have been seen as excessive force because Lyoya was already down on the ground. However, Lyoya had his hands on the officer's lethal tool. I freaking hate these race baiters, and I hate these grifters. Again, anybody who has done security, whether that's armed or unarmed, and has been in it for a while, and anybody who's been a police officer or anyone in between will understand what I'm saying. For the rest of the idiots who are screaming and crying because, oh, well, the officer went too far, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, he didn't. He followed procedure. From what I'm seeing, from my knowledge and from my experience, granted it's very little, but going off of textual, he kept giving commands. He waited longer than he should have to take care of Lyoya. He was very patient, tried to be, I don't want to say understanding, but he hit his physical limit. As you remember in the video, you could both hear heavy breathing, which means both men were at their max capacity for physically fighting. Lyoya would not let go of the taser, which created an even more serious issue. And the fact that he was intoxicated as well. So we have drunk driving with stolen plates, more than likely a stolen car, getting into a physical altercation with an officer, grabbing the officer's lethal tool, which is pain compliance, mind you, and then refusing to let go while be given several commands. Do the math. Seriously. In Michigan, a person with blood alcohol concentration of 0.08 or higher is legally considered too intoxicated to drive. Blood alcohol levels at or above 0.17 while driving can be considered super drunk and bring heightened penalties. Dr. Ernest Chiato, a physician, psychologist, and former medical director of the city of Detroit, described the levels in the report as highly, highly intoxicated. Most people would be falling down drunk, he said. Which Lyoya could very well have been blackout drunk. I don't know. I'm not a toxologist. But some people, when they do get blackout drunk, do not fall over. Obviously, when you're blackout drunk or whatnot, you don't have memory of the nights before or that day, depending on what time you're drinking and got blackout drunk. But that doesn't mean they're going to be falling over themselves. Some people just, their eyes glaze over and their body still can function, but they're not going to remember what they were doing and eventually going to crash. So each person is different. Anyway, Oakland County Chief Medical Examiner Dr. How do you say that? Lyoya Dragovic, cool last name, said it would probably take a minimum of 15 drinks to reach the level of 29, or really, really, really heavy liquor. Vodka, Everclear comes to mind. There's whiskey that has 110 proof. I mean, there's really high concentrated alcohol out there. Daniel Lauren, a defense attorney who represents people accused of drunk driving, told the Free Press everybody would be significantly impaired by the time they reach a .29 blood alcohol concentration. Even a regular drinker. The ability to drive, walk, and talk and think would all be significantly impaired, he said, which Lyoya was acting as though he was high or he was on something. Lauren said a person that intoxicated might not understand instructions correctly and can act out of character. But the fact that he got drunk, climbed into a car with stolen plates, no less. More than likely, sorry, I have bad allergies. The shooting captured in the video has sparked protests and reignited calls for police reforms. There is no need to reform the police. Here's the problem, is the amount of legality, the amount of laws, the amount of stipulations, what they can or cannot do, even when using lethal force or using contact controls, compliant controls, defense tactics, then lethal force. So there's already so many rules in place. It's not so much reforming these rules, because these rules can create an issue within itself, but it's how inexperienced people have no idea what these rules are, have never been in these situations themselves. Yes, there's bad cops all around. I've seen the auditors, I've seen the videos, I've read the articles, and I understand. But at the same time, when you have lawyers who are saying, oh, well, Officer Scher's a murderer and blah, 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 here's the thing. Here is the thing. It's just like dealing with a druggie. They're out of their minds. They're not responding, but they're still dangerous. The officer's not going to go, oh, well, they're out of their mind, so I'm going to be more lenient. No, that's even more so to put up a defense, because especially when somebody has lost all control of their senses, is not thinking in the norm, whether it be alcohol or drugs, depending on the drug, you have the person acting very differently. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I've never done drugs. I don't hang around that stuff, so I can only go off of secondhand information. Alcohol I have a little bit more experience with, and that affects each person differently, and some people can hold their liquor better than others. In Lyoya's case, he still had the functionality to drive the car, pull over the car, and it's not talked about where he was going or where he came from, but he had more than likely stolen plates. Now here's the problem. Because the officer was not able to identify, compare the plates information versus his ID, he had to assume that they were stolen. And plus, Lyoya took off. So again, when you have somebody, especially when you're a security guard or a police officer, and you have somebody who's out of their mind, with be drugs or alcohol, does not matter which, your guard is heightened. Your perception, you have to, if it escalates and it gets hostile, you have to pre-plan, you have to predict what this person is going to do. And if there's other individuals on site or in the vicinity, you also have to take that into account. So with the lawyer trying, even though he was drunk, that's even a more dangerous individual. Okay? So the fact that he was reaching for the weapon, which is the taser, and he kept doing so, would not let go, made him an individual, even more so because he was out of sorts and he was not thinking clearly. So again, I'm not a fan of these lawyers, these grifters, these race baiters. I freaking despise them. Now, I have a more understanding because of my job. Does that make me an expert? By no means, because there are situations that are PD level, or situations that I would call PD4. But at the same time, I have a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more understanding, going like, yeah, no, this escalated. The person was out of sorts. The officer tried to be patient, took longer to bring Lyoya down, in my opinion. And that is something kind of interesting to look up to, because I know, oh, that's another thing. Pepper spray also wouldn't have worked in this case, because when somebody is on crack or they're underneath the influence of alcohol, they're not going to register getting pepper sprayed in the face. Look this up, because their senses are gone. When you get blackout drunk, and they say in the article that Lyoya was over three times the allowed amount of alcohol in one's blood, a lot of your body goes numb. Like your feeling, your taste, your eyesight could be blurred. You could not be registered what you were seeing. So, and also you're not going to feel a lot of stuff because it causes a lot of your body parts to become numb. So in this case, pepper spray wouldn't have worked. And now that the more that I think about it, I don't think the nightstick would have worked either because he wouldn't have possibly registered getting hit with it. So, but it would have been seen as excessive because Lyoya was already on the ground, but at the same time, so you could see how complicated and sometimes convoluted this stuff can be. Again, and I'm going to end it here, anybody who has experience as a physical security guard, whether that's unarmed, armed, anybody who has physical experience being a police officer, actually going out on patrol and dealing with situations, not just sitting behind a desk or anywhere in between, will understand what I am saying. I will let you know if something else comes out. I'm going to be going back to my normal schedule here in the next few days. I've had some free time due to very extensive car work, but other than that, I'd keep an eye on this, in my opinion, as it still stands, based off of what I know, based off of the breakdown of the video, based off of all the variables, because I've seen all 4 angles of the video. Officer Schur was justified in shooting Lyoya, even more so now because she was out of sorts, reaching for a weapon, would not let go of said weapon, took off, and proved himself already to be a dangerous individual. And when you're drunk or when you're out of sorts like that, whether it be drugs or whatever else, you are unpredictable. Lyoya was unpredictable and would not let go of a pain compliance tool. I'm sorry, but fuck around and find out. Anyway, with that being said, I will end it here and I will let you guys know if anything more comes out on this.